Chelsea want another Serie A star. Benzema hits 200, Man United crash out of cup competition, and a transfer roundup, all coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host, Angelina Kelly, let's get into it. So first up, and yes, it's all about Chelsea and a certain Serie A player and the club that he comes from, Juventus, who of course celebrated their first Serie A victory of the season as they managed a 3-2 comeback against Spezia, with their manager Max Allegri stating that it was just the victory that they needed in order to move on in the season. Now, at the hour point, it wasn't looking good for Juventus. They were actually trailing 2-1, and it looked like they were going to extend their winless start to Serie A to 5 games. However, they managed to come back, and it was actually Matthijs de Ligt who managed to score the winning goal to take them out of the relegation zone. And speaking of Matthijs de Ligt, he is the player that Chelsea are interested in. Now, as if Chelsea had not already done enough damage in Serie A by taking one of the league's best strikers in Romelu Lukaku, they now want one of the league's best defenders. Of course, they were linked with defender Jules Koundé at Sevilla. Now, that deal didn't end up going through, and although there are a few rumours that they may try and get the player in the winter or summer transfer window, according to new reports, it is de Ligt that is at the top of Thomas Tuchel's transfer wish list. Now, some people could question, why are Chelsea actually in the market for a centre-back? Well, when you look at de Ligt, he is such an immense talent, and considering he's only 22 years of age, he already has bags and bags of senior experience. Now, of course, some people could argue that Chelsea already have this area of the pitch covered. Of course, they have Andreas Christensen, they have Antonio Rudiger, and of course, they do have Thiago Silva, alongside youngsters like Trevor Chalobah and Malang Sarr. Also, you pair this with the fact that Chelsea have only actually conceded 2 goals so far this season, one last night against Aston Villa and against Liverpool, so defensively they are looking pretty good already. However, Christensen, Rudiger and Silva are all set to become free agents in the summer, and what this means is that this area of the pitch could become quite uncertain, so I guess it does make sense that they are looking at de Ligt. Now, according to reports, talks with Christensen are going well about a contract renewal. It's yet to be seen what Thiago Silva is going to do, if he is going to put pen to paper, and according to these reports, Rudiger is having a bit of a difficult time regarding negotiations with Chelsea on his fee. So with this in mind, it could potentially leave the Blues quite vulnerable at the back, especially if Tuchel is planning to continue playing 3 at the back, which he's been pretty successful with so far. Now, of course, de Ligt is not the only option. According to reports, Chelsea did try to sign Marquinhos from PSG in the summer, but the player opted to stay in Paris. So with Marquinhos and Jules Koundé seemingly out of the picture, I think that de Ligt is definitely not a bad third option. Next up, on last night, Real Madrid not only celebrated a 6-1 thrashing of Mallorca that put them at the top of the table 2 points clear, but it was also an extremely special night for Karim Benzema as he scored his 200th La Liga goal. It was the Frenchman who gave Los Blancos an early lead, which he then added a second goal to, securing the 200-goal milestone as he furthered his already outstanding legacy in the league. Now, it wasn't just Benzema that was on the score sheet, and it wasn't just him that had a great night, as Marco Asensio managed to bag himself a hat-trick in what would have been a much-needed confidence boost for the player. Now, it's no secret that he has reportedly been unhappy with life at Real Madrid and the amount of minutes that he's getting under Carlo Ancelotti, and the 25-year-old has been linked with a couple of moves away, with the likes of Liverpool, Juventus and AC Milan all reportedly eyeing the player. However, if we could now see a turn of form in the player, obviously he's got that hat-trick, maybe that will mean more game time, perhaps we could see him staying at Real Madrid. For Benzema, this now means 8 goals and 7 assists in just 6 La Liga games, and all this means is that he is surely well and truly on his way to surpassing the 23 goals that he scored last season in La Liga. These 15 goal involvements that he's already got are the most for a player in La Liga through 6 matches this century, proving that despite being 33 years of age, he is so vital for this Real Madrid team, and he is such a steadying force, especially when you consider some of the big names that did depart over the summer. Ancelotti heaped praise on the player, which I think has been a long time coming. I think a lot of people have been sleeping on Benzema and the talent that he possesses, and he also has been great for the development of the likes of Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo. Now, with Lionel Messi out of the picture in La Liga, could this mean that Benzema is going to pick up the Pichichi trophy? I'm really hoping he does, because I think he definitely deserves it. So next up, and we're heading to the Carabao Cup, where I think it's safe to say the majority of the big name clubs that you were expecting to get wins did. First up, Chelsea, they of course managed to extend their unbeaten run as they beat Aston Villa on penalties. Now, during the game, it was Cameron Archer who found the back of the net for Villa. He has now scored 4 goals in 2 cup games, absolutely amazing from him. And of course, Timo Werner got on the score sheet for Chelsea. This was his first club goal in 11 matches, and the player should have really added to the tally soon after, but dragged a shot from close range wide of the target. Villa did give as good as they got in the game, but unfortunately, thanks to an Ashley Young miss and a save from Kepa, it was Chelsea's game in the end. Meanwhile, Spurs managed to fight off a very spirited comeback from Wolves. Now, you could argue that Spurs managed to let go a 2-0 lead, which did include Harry Kane's first goal of the season. Wolves did fight back. It was 2-2 and it went to penalties. Unfortunately for Wolves, it was not their night when it came to the penalties. And for Nuno Espirito Santo, I'm sure he will be very happy that they are progressing to the next round. Elsewhere, Arsenal managed to ease into the next round with a 3-0 victory over Wimbledon. Meanwhile, thanks to Ademola Lookman, who opened the scoring for Leicester with his first goal for the club, they also managed to progress to the next round of the competition alongside Brighton. And then there was Manchester United. They crashed out of the competition against West Ham as they lost 1-0 in what was yet again another slow, extremely disappointing start from the team, and they just couldn't get it together. The performance definitely exposed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's pre-match chat about the strength of his squad as somewhat hollow. Despite the squad rotation and all of this talk about Man United finally having some squad depth, it really wasn't great. But credit where credit's due for West Ham. They had a great performance and they got the job done, especially the fact that they managed to get revenge over Man United, as of course they beat them in the Premier League at the weekend, will have made this victory a little sweeter. Of course, it was thanks to Manuel Lanzini's goal that they got the win, and of course Alphonse Areola, who made his debut in goal. For David Moyes, of course a former Man United manager, this was a special win, the first in 9 attempts since being sacked by the club. He saw his men score early and they simply relied on their talent, wits, guts and maybe a little bit of luck. But yeah, a great win for West Ham, and they will need all of those abilities as they face Manchester City in the next round of the Cup. Some of the other fixtures that will be taking place: Chelsea will face Southampton, Arsenal will be facing Leeds, and Spurs will travel to Brighton. And now we have our transfer roundup. This is where I take a look at some of the other news and transfers going on in the footballing world. And first up, Everton's James Rodriguez has made the move to Qatari club Al Rayyan, which is of course coached by ex-France coach Laurent Blanc. According to reports, Borussia Dortmund are set to try and sign Juventus star Federico Chiesa should Erling Haaland depart from the club in the summer. And speaking of Juventus, they have reportedly entered the race for Real Madrid's Luka Jovic alongside Inter Milan and AC Milan. And finally, it seems like the Premier League have agreed to have a winter break in 2022, as of course the World Cup will be taking place in that winter in Qatar. Now what this means is that the league will start a week earlier, finish a week later, and it seems like the break will happen around the 12th of November, which means that players will have just over a week to get to their nations to prepare for the World Cup, and play will resume in the Premier League on Boxing Day, which means that if players are in the final, they will only have 8 days to recover before the Premier League continues. So that's it for today's OneFootball Daily News. As always, check out all the other news and content that we've got here, and until next time, I will see you all later.